Thanks so much for staying with us on SABC News. South Africa's economy grew marginally in the first quarter, dodging a technical recession. Let's speak to the Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Before we go into the figures, just take us through the collection of data that ends up showing us what our GDP is doing.
Greetings, Zinga, and let me greet the viewers. Let us start by looking at the economy in the first quarter of 2023. There were 4 industries that drove it in the main. But let me start off by saying, out of the 10 industries, only 2 went in the negative. That is agriculture, as well as the area of utilities, that is electricity, gas, and water. Whereas out of the 8, 4 contributed strongly. The 2 that contributed the strongest are manufacturing, as well as finance, real estate, and business services. Those were followed by trade, personal services, as well as transport. So I said there were 4. Actually, there were 5. Transport is included in the 5 that showed a strength.
All right.
Now let's look at manufacturing. Manufacturing grew at 1.5%, but it contributed 0.2 of a percentage point to the 0.4% that we see as an ultimate number for the quarter. So is finance, real estate, and business. Although it grew at 0.6%, it contributed 0.2 of a percentage point as well.
So the expansion of the South African economy, as you've spoken about, was driven by manufacturing and the finance industries on the supply side. Take us through what happened on the demand side. And then to your point about the growth recorded in most industries, is that because it's a low base, or is there something else driving that recovery and that growth?
Let us start off by the industries that drove the economy, largely manufacturing and finance, which contributed the strongest. In manufacturing, it was in the area of food and beverages, whereas in finance, it was financial mediation, the area of pension funding and insurance, as well as in the area of other financial services. So when you look at those, they contributed the most. But when we go to the expenditure on GDP, let us look at household expenditure, for example. Household expenditure was driven largely by restaurants and hotels. It actually grew at 6.9%, and the contribution of restaurants and hotels was 0.3 of a percentage point. It was followed by health, which grew at about 2.9% while contributing 0.2 of a percentage point.
Okay. Mining activity saw recovery. We saw that was led by gold and platinum group metals, according to you at SABC. Talk us through that, and then also maybe agriculture falling by over 12%, the largest negative contributor. Do we know why and what's happening in that space?
Mining, as we have already said, the sectors that contributed the most was the platinum, group metals, and gold. But of course, it didn't contribute to the 0.4% as we have seen with manufacturing and finance and real estate. Now, when we look at agriculture, which went in the negative 12.3%, and its contribution to the overall outcome of the quarter, which is 0.4%, was negative 0.4 of a percentage point. Now, in agriculture, it was because of a decrease in the production, in the agricultural production in the areas of animal products, as well as in field crops.
Statistician General, you and I speak almost every time you come on to SABC News about capacity at Stats SA. The work that you do is so important for almost all sectors, and people on the market and people in day-to-day watch that figure to really understand what's happening in our country. Tell me about that now, your capacity now, and the work that you're doing and the importance of trust therein.
Well, we have challenges indeed. Our vacancy rate is sitting at about 19% now, which is almost 20%. So we are functioning with about 80% of the staff members that we need. Mm-hmm. However, we as the management of Stats SA, together with our staff members who are highly committed, have taken a decision to protect national indicators or key indicators, issues such as the economy, issues in relation to the population, the CPI, issues of employment and unemployment. Those are indicators that we need to understand the pulse of our nation. So that is where we are prioritizing most of our resources. Of course, it takes time to build some of these skills and expertise. It takes us about 20 years to build them, and once we lose them to international organizations and private sector, we can't readily and easily replace them. So if we had funding, of course, we would be replacing them quite time and again, so that when we lose them, we don't feel the pinch as much.
Mm-hmm. Statistician General of South Africa, Risenga Maluleke, joining us there. Thank you so much for your time. Always good to have you on SABC News.